Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, live from Lisbon. I'm here with the head of Orange Click, Augustas. Today and yesterday, he's been running a new experimental program for events, if you'd like, called Barcamp. Originally, the idea came from Germany, but I'm going to hand over to you, Augustas. Do you want to explain what Barcamp's about and how this format works?
So Barcamp is, in general, this idea of event comes from Silicon Valley, and I think from IT companies, where they were collecting, grouping, in groups and deciding what they want to discuss. So the idea of this format, which is very popular in German Amazon seller community, is that let's say there are 100 people, like today we have in Lisbon, and people in the first hour, they can pitch what they want to talk. It can be an influencer, service provider, it can be a seller who wants to talk about reviews or any topic. Maybe it's your challenge, maybe you want to share something, maybe it's a slide presentation, maybe it's just like you have figured something and you want advice from people who did something similar. And then we split maybe 3 sessions every hour in different breakout rooms. So we have like about 20 sessions or more during the whole day.
And so what effects have you seen so far? I missed yesterday, I was at an event, hosting an event in London. So let's have a quick chat about what you did leading up. But would this be like the key main day of the full concept, or was yesterday part of the concept as well?
So Barcamp is the day 2 of the kind of what we're offering. Day 1 was networking. Of course, it's nice when maybe it's first content and then people have fun, but we thought maybe it's important that people connect to each other. So some people upgraded to 2-day experience, networking, and then content day. But some people came just for the content. But I already heard from some sponsors, like yesterday networking day was great, and like maybe it will pay off their investment. And of course, they had informal communication in the VIP dinner and in the activities they had together. We did a boat trip, we did lunch, Portuguese-style lunch, and then we did escape room, which was really fun, 1 hour to solve a puzzle in a groups of 6 people. So it was a really nice day.
Excellent, and we agree with this. And I've done a podcast with Dan Ashburn and Adam Heiss last week. We are seeing a trend in the industry where we have to be careful as promoters, me in the UK, all the stuff that you're doing in Europe, others around the world are doing the same thing. It's to get that balance right, because we've seen an uprising as there's more and more service providers at the event. As promoters, we need sponsorship money that helps subsidize the event to keep the ticket price down. But let's have a quick chat about how difficult that is to maintain. Like you said, a sponsor has to get a return on investment, or they won't invest. But the sellers need to add that experience where they network with sellers, and the ratio needs to be high of sellers to make the magic happen.
So we had different levels. So of course, there is sponsor, so it's clear. Clear offering is for sellers, but of course there are a lot of service providers which they say they are sellers, but maybe they have a seller account to test their software or their service. And our strategy this time was that we make the price double for the service providers to filter them out. And we still had service providers paying, but if we would keep the same price, like for sellers and service providers, we would get probably more service providers, because they are eager to come to network. But of course, we had to also get connections like through you, maybe to some bigger sellers, to invite them maybe even for free, but that we get really strong minds to come and be part of this Barcamp event.
Yeah, I'm a believer that that's how we all win, right? So when I speak to, I was similar to you with what I've done, but not double the ticket price. I kind of capped the amount of service providers. And I always say it to them respectfully, it's like, if I've got sponsors, they want to get return on investment. Sellers want to get return on investments by having a higher ratio of sellers in the room. And I explain to them, if there's too many service providers that outweigh the number of the sellers, well, what happens is the seller doesn't win, and nor do you. Because even if you're only attending and buying a ticket, even at the same price as one of the delegates that are sellers, you're going to be disappointed because you got on a flight to come over to find it's a room of service providers. So we kind of have to maintain a balance And sometimes you have to say to people, apologies, but this time you can't attend. Like I put on our website, before buying a ticket, if you're an aggregator or a service provider, please get in contact. Then that way is the way to balance it. But you've done it a different way by increasing the price for the service provider to kind of not scare them off, but it's like, well, if you're coming in to earn a return on investment. But on the flip side of that, and you might see the same as well, is that sellers still want value for money, so they are price sensitive. So you know, I've seen people go, well, let's not have service providers or sponsors, and I'm like, cool, that's okay. Do you remember that £300 ticket you paid for? That's now nearly 2,000. They go, what? Where's my discount code? So it is a very difficult balance. I mean, what are some of the things you see going forward that all of us can improve as promoters to maintain that ratio of sellers whilst giving value for money?
First of all, we were very strict looking at the list. Sometimes, they say they are seller, but then we find like maybe they are representing the aggregator, which is true, they are sellers, but they're coming to the event not to learn how to sell, but how to get contacts to other sellers. I think we will have to have more strict rules in filtering. During the application form, we already were asking for storefront of the Amazon account so that we can, of course, they can put their friends' email address of their storefront, but I think we will add like more psychological in the form barriers, maybe like that they have to write, I consent that I don't have services. So it's like will be difficult for them, for some people to lie that they don't have services, but they read I consent, and maybe we can even put some kind of condition, like if we find out you're a service provider, like you have to find, I don't know, to pay fine, or like you're banned from events. Like we would like people to be honest, and if you do a capping of like, let's say 20 providers in the event, then they have to respect, and or they can be sponsors. It's always optional to be a sponsor. You can contact way in advance and get sponsorship. It's not a problem.
And I think we're finding as well is that in order for people to get the value is that more and more sponsors or potential sponsors are vying for speaking slots. And I'm a big believer it's a difficult balance to work with if you try to do the pay to play. If you sell the speaker slot, it has a number value against it. The mindset of content goes out the window. It's the mindset of recouping. So whether that's conscious, subconscious, they're there thinking, I've got to really do a great presentation, but maximize the selling part in order. Even if you look at the slides, you can't determine what comes out a person's mouth, right? But it's like, it's very hard to get that balance. And I always think that the content should be isolated as much as possible. But then you've got really good service providers. I'll give you an example. Destiny Bushon. Yeah, she works at a PPC agency. One of the best content people in the business, bar none. So why wouldn't you have her on stage? And this is the thing. Some people would compare that and go, well, Destiny's up there and speaking. But I'm like, yeah, but you're a company like a sourcing company in Germany that no one's ever heard of. You're here to buy that slot. It's not the same. And this is the part of the juggle as well.
Yes, what I wanted to say that I had a thought, let me remember it. In terms of content. So I just talked with one Amazon seller, which was, I just talked like literally 20 minutes ago. We were standing in front of the board with all the sessions planned for the day. And he says, well, if it would be only sellers, and it's like, I said like, would it be like good? And he says, well, not. Because maybe sellers would not pitch anything. In Barcamp, you have to pitch, offer some theme. And of course, like maybe 60% pitches are from either sponsors or service providers, but some are pitches really interesting, like external traffic, like from Pinterest. Nobody is maybe from sellers would offer such, but now there is a guy who is a maybe service provider, and he will offer some steps. So there is value from service providers as well.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes the world go round. As I said, like there's a massive spot here. Without the service provider money, which are the sponsors, right? We have to do more expensive to the seller. So you have to get a balance where everyone's happy, and it's very hard to meet that balance. But going back to your point as well, is that with this concept here, the sellers simply don't want to. I'll give you an example today. After we record this, I'm going to sit down with some sellers and we're going to do a round table, and they're like, oh, but what do you want to do? because they're not that they're terrified, but they don't want to go on stage. They don't want to go in front of the camera. They don't want to speak in front of people because that's not their thing, or they've not got the experience to do so. So go back to your point. It's good that there's a mix of sellers and service providers, because what if you had a room full of sellers and you did this format and then one goes, I'm not getting up. Then you'd have no content. So do you see what I mean? We find the balance. But where do you see the future of this kind of format going? Have you enjoyed it, what you're seeing at the moment? And can you see this becoming more popular?
Of course, every break I'm asking people, like, what do you think about this concept? I have never experienced myself, but it's already proved concept in Germany. They had 7 times and it's usually sold out. They have 300 people attending. This event is very specific because it's all international. In Germany, all the Germans, they just drive 3 hours and they're in the venue. And here people invest at least 1,000 euros to come. And I'm quite proud that we got 100 people. And literally there is no Portuguese who lives in Portugal. There is one Portuguese who lives in Germany, one German guy who lives in Portugal 20 years, but it's like we couldn't really get Portuguese people here. But what people give me feedback, like, yeah, they are very happy. I know I have a feeling sometimes people are always happy about events, but probably they're more referring to the socializing and making friends. And this kind of format is maybe just interesting to explore. We will see if we will repeat it, most likely. Or maybe sometimes we'll connect this format with a bigger conference. Let's say it's a 3-day event. First day is Barcamp, so you get to know each other. And then it's 2 days event with the speakers, regular maybe.
Well, this is what's been interesting about what you do. You've got no fixed abode, right? Which I mean is like, London is my home camp, right? You go to Germany, Timo, all these different people. Germany's got the largest per capita in Europe in terms of sellers. Then you've got Estonia, you've got Romania, you've got some in France, but you do like Lisbon, Amsterdam, Lithuania, and it's quite interesting is that it's tough, and Prague, of course, right? So when you put an event on, it's almost like you start at ground zero every time. So it's a lot more struggle for you because you haven't got the home team who will attend with the loyalty. It all relies on internationals. So is this your first live event back since COVID, since March 2020?
Yes, it's correct. March 2020, I think you attended, was European Seller Conference in Czech. It was kind of teared by all the panic. Still, I got here some attendees from that event and they said, it was really amazing event 2 years ago. And this is the first. At the moment, we don't plan new events because planning event, like you need 4 or 5 months. If you do event like in London, so you probably get like half people from UK. So if there is like lockdowns, for UK people, it's easy to travel. With my people, I have no local people. If they shut down the borders, venue says, well, you can still bring in Portugal, you can travel, but I have no Portuguese tickets. So it's a problem if like international traveling is affected. So I still cannot trust that in autumn will be like normal life. So at the moment, we're not planning physical events, but let's see how it's autumn, winter. If it looks good, maybe we'll plan quickly for the winter.
Cool. Any final words before we sign off?
No, I think I'm really kind of happy that people invested their time to come to this event. We have a lot of German people, of course, because we are organizing this event with Dragonflip, which is a FBA broker in Germany, and they initiated Barcamps. It's called Seller Barcamp in Germany. It's all in German language. So we have like 1/3 from Germany. And then we have a big group of UK people, from Lithuania, from my home country. There are quite probably the top 3. But what I want to say, like, just go and network. And most of people who repeat events, they go repeatedly to events. They say like, we made friends. We meet again in the next event. We make partners, we make businesses. Maybe they make wives and husbands.
Dating, yeah. Cool. All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. Augustas, good to see that you're back in the game out doing events, and congratulations.